Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Spotter, the podcast for the ones who never ask for help but need it. Remember that entrance. I'm going to record that on loop soon, so I don't have to keep doing it. But we're not big enough to do that, create the little intro jingle and things like that. Maybe I'll get music one day, who knows. Just need that one big guest to come on and blow it up. There we go, and we'll be massive. But yeah, I'm really enjoying doing these at the minute, guys. I feel it's when you get that thought that you're doing something right, and I know this isn't perfect. I know it's not the most polished thing in the world, but I kind of think that makes it what it is. I always keep banging on about it being raw and authentic, and I think that's why people enjoy these. It's because nowadays we're so used to having podcasts that are so polished and ready to go. They're cut in certain ways that make you feel like it's gone through. Well, it probably has gone through recording studios. It's been produced properly. But this is when you realise it's just me at the minute, starting out like many other people. We're all on a journey, but I've just got my Audacity program in the background. I'm recording into a mic, and I'm just looking at a couple of screens here, and putting it out myself. So yeah, it's a great journey, and we're 5 episodes in now, and yeah, we'll see if this can carry on and stand the test of time. I really, really want to get some individuals on with stories and I suppose real experiences again that can help everyone listening. And I hope today's one again is going to help more people just take steps into healing potentially, or maybe they sit there, you sit there and think, actually, I need to do this. I'm glad that Jake's mentioned that, and yeah, so I've had some great conversations with people based on the episodes that I've put out already, and it's opened my eyes to, the people that we are around every day. That most of the time we look at friends, family, close individuals, partners, even, and we don't actually ask ourselves, I wonder if they are, actually okay. I wonder if they need someone to speak to them or ask them certain questions that sadly might trigger them or get them to take action. But yeah, it's amazing to think that we're walking around, cracking on with our lives day to day, and we, people are just struggling, and we're in such a society now where there's hustle culture. People need to crack on and do things, and it's really embedded in us that you need to, just get on with it basically. And I think we're getting there. I think that the world is changing. I think especially for men as well. I think men are being empowered to speak out more, and that's what I want to do is show that I've been on both sides, and we'll talk about that today in this, when I'm talking about counselling and things like that. But I really want people to feel like they can speak out and feel heard. So that's the mission of this, and I will keep going on until it gets in the heads of everyone. So yeah, getting into today's episode, we are talking about basically my journey with counselling. So I think this is quite a natural segue progression into this one, because basically we've gone through episode 1 talking about, I suppose my why, why I'm doing this and what I want to get out of this and help people with. We've touched upon my, parentage. We've, learnt about, addiction with my father, death with my father, my mum with depression, manic depression, bipolar disorder. Touched upon a lot of her illnesses, things like, the cancer, the AML that she suffered with, and the brain damage after that. And the ongoing support and care that I give her. Obviously, we'll sort of go into detail a bit more with that down the line, providing she's happy for me to do so. And then in the last one, we've spoken about my personal issues with anxiety as a result of all of this, and suffering with panic attacks as well. So I think this leads nicely into talking about when I took steps and realised I actually needed to seek the help of counsellors and talk out. So I guess that, I suppose that most people know what counsellors are. They're individuals that are qualified, or I hope they're qualified, but they're usually there to sit and listen and provide prompts, routes to go down in terms of making you realise certain things and take actions, just to allow you to talk about what's going on in your life and basically be a... this isn't a technical definition, but I'm just coming up with this and my interpretation of them. But they're just there to basically allow you to speak, talk about what's going on in your life, maybe some trigger points, issues, anxieties, things that you just have been, I suppose they've been festering deep down for so long that you don't even realise are causing you issues in your life, and they can get that out of you and make you take certain steps and come to realisations, really. So when it comes to me, I used a service back in 2021, I think it was, early in that year, called Number 22. Great service. They were local to me, and they run in a couple of counties, a couple of towns. And they, it's formed of, it's a charity, but it's formed of volunteer counsellors that, again, do exactly what I've just said across a course of, I think it's anywhere from 6 to 10 sessions that span, either weekly or bi-weekly, things like that. And I think it ended up being 9 or 10 sessions that I did over, sort of like 10 to 12 weeks, spaced out quite nicely. And but before I get into the real details of it, it was needed for me because I'd obviously gone through, that was 2021, I'd gone through, the issues throughout the years of my dad, and he hadn't passed away at this point, so I didn't know that was coming. So that I dealt with that side of things better because of this. But what made me seek out the help initially, I think, was a couple of festering issues deep down in me, and it made me realise that I wasn't necessarily okay, in quotations, like whatever okay is. I think that's up to individuals to decide what their okay is. But I knew that I wasn't really firing on all the cylinders. I knew that there was something quite wrong, and I remember at the time speaking to Abby saying, I think I'm gonna go to, because I went to talking therapies and I didn't get what I wanted out of them. I'm not down in that service if it's. If you need to, the NHS service talking therapies, if you want to talk to people over the phone, and I think you can sometimes go to them in person, but it just wasn't what I needed. It was a lot of, I think, CBT, I think, cognitive behavioural therapies, and little ways in which you can improve things. And it wasn't right for me. I knew that I just needed to sit and talk with somebody that didn't have any knowledge of my background, my life as it was at the time. And so I was like, right, I spoke to Abby. We realised that, maybe there's some talking that I needed to do. And obviously, as a partner does, they're like, no, I'm here for you. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I think I've got things deep rooted that I need to get out first before I can then open up to my loved ones and be a more secure and better partner, sibling, son, so I came to that realisation myself. So sought out the help of Number 22. They were fantastic. And the way I am today, I pride a lot of it because of those sessions, based on those sessions. Everyone that talks to me now and will interact with me, you'll think, bloody hell, he overshares. It's like, yeah, shut up, Jake. Sometimes I overshare a bit too much. And I don't think oversharing, I think it depends on the individual, but I'm just a bit open. I like to talk about things, and maybe sometimes a bit too much, but I think that before the counselling, I was completely the other way. And I knew that it got to a point where, I realised that I just wasn't healthy. I couldn't talk about things. I rarely got emotional about things. I didn't cry, and I struggled with a lot. I had this real, I think it's quite toxic, this toxic viewpoint of you need to crack on and keep everything locked up in your head. There's no need for you to express your feelings. You've got people that rely on you, so just get on with it. That's how I thought. And I thought, okay, that must be just how my life's going to be. And that's how I tuned myself into that way of thinking. And I think that a lot of people do that. I'm sure that, again, people listening to this now, if you know me, you'll probably think, never ever knew that about Jake. And that, you wouldn't, because I'm at this point in my life, I'm not really going out there telling people about, my dad was an alcoholic, my mum had cancer, and, sadly, 5-6 other health issues, and has, manic depression, and I look after her in some ways, and I've had anxiety and panic attacks. I've even spoke to one of my best friends and he said to me, I had no idea about what was going on with your anxiety and panic attacks. And I was like, yeah, it was just because when you get to a certain point where you've started to heal and you've started to accept these things, I don't think you don't go around just talking about them all the time, and you wouldn't have a need to, would you? So I think this is why this podcast is a good, a good way in which we can get these subjects and things to surface level and get everyone to, do some thinking themselves. And ask questions, and make sure people are okay. Ask your best friend, ask your family member, are they okay? Do they want to talk about things? Just, respectfully, if they say no, then fine, but just so they know that you're there and you're trying to take an interest to make sure they're okay. So number 22, volunteer counsellors provided over a certain period of time. And I think that counselling could be an option for many people. You have to come to a realisation that it is basically it can be quite intrusive. They are there they're there primarily to listen, but they're going to be asking things that will get you thinking, and that you don't know how you're going to react. You may burst out crying, you may bring up something that you didn't know was an issue, and then come to a realisation in that session. And that's a lot of the time what happened to me. So I guess let's just reverse it a little bit and go back to when I started the counselling, why I got into it, and why I thought I needed it, basically. So had all the issues coming, growing up with my parentage, and I think what was festering for so long, basically, not having many people to go to, feeling like I was harbouring a lot of responsibility at such a young age, especially when mum was in and out of hospital, trying to keep a career going, trying to learn, trying to train, and also training was, as I said to you, my way of therapy and keeping me sane. And before Abby, basically for years, I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have that initial loving support from that you get from a partner. Whilst mum was going through a lot of her illnesses, and I just felt completely alone. So that's when a lot of the harbouring and sort of festering of issues that they're all locked up in my head. That I kept telling myself, 2016 through to probably 2019, you must just lock all this up, lock this shit away and crack on. You need to be a stable individual for your family and your friends, and don't show any signs of weakness. And that's exactly what I did. 2019, obviously I don't want to talk ill. I won't talk ill of anyone. There's no need to, but there were some situations with, I suppose, dating / non-dating individuals that, again, I won't delve into too much, but I had some issues personally that I didn't realise were causing me massive issues at the time, but looking back on it now, they were, and a lot of it came to light in counselling as well, which, again, with this, if you know me well, you'll realise, I think, quite quickly that I'm a giver. I care a lot. I'm an empath. I care a lot about other people. I take on people's issues. I take on people's struggles, and I connect with individuals on a very deep level straight away. And I can feel now, even more so, but I still did back then. I can feel other people's issues and struggles so much more, almost than my own as well. And I think, sadly, in 2019, it was just a case of it just got, sadly, mixed up with the wrong person. Maybe didn't understand me as well, and that's not on them, but maybe didn't understand me the way in which I thought would just be natural. And I think I overpoured myself into relationships, and I'm not just saying a relationship with a female like that, but just relationships in general, friends as well. I think I overpoured. I filled other people's cups up more than mine. I kept doing that quite a lot, and struggled to get anything back, and it drained me massively. And then I felt like I wasn't basically, I felt like I wasn't a good person. I felt like I had to bolster other people up. I felt like I wasn't getting any support from anyone. I felt like I was just out on my own. I was struggling a lot in 2019. And one of my best friends at the time was, he was so supportive with me, telling me, I think this, I think that, was able to see that I was, flagging really, that I was breaking down, and I was, just holding myself up. We used to go on walks pretty much every day in the week, and they would be, again, another saving point for me. We'd go out, we'd walk for a good hour and a half, just joke around, talk about boy things, just bond, chat a load of shit basically. But then equally would talk about serious life, life stuff and subjects. And those conversations really kept me on a straight path, honestly. And he knows who he is. And I don't know if he listens to these, but honestly, they definitely saved me at the time. But again, there were signs there that I was pouring myself into the wrong individuals. Obviously not him, but pouring myself into the wrong individuals, pouring my energy into the wrong people. that didn't understand me as a person, didn't understand my life. And again, it might have been my problem for not being upfront and honest about that, but it is what it is. And it really, well, it fucked me up a bit. It did. I felt like I wasn't good enough as a man, and I felt like I could always do better. I felt like I always had something to improve on, felt like I wasn't enough. And that was 2018, early 2019. And then thankfully, me and, one of my best friends, Abby, we ended up, reconnecting. We'd worked together for years. Basically, when I did my first part-time job, we reconnected and we started dating properly. And I felt completely different. Well, I felt like myself, but I felt heard. I felt like someone genuinely wanted to listen to me, asked me questions, poured energy into me. It was just it felt 50-50. It felt like I was able to talk, she was able to talk, and we would both bounce off each other. The energy was right. When you feel like you're connecting correctly with someone, and it just felt right from the get-go. And I knew, because I'd been so suppressed for so long because of all the things I was harbouring and keeping locked in my head, and sadly the pouring of energy into the wrong people and feeling suppressed in that way, feeling not good enough and feeling like I wasn't a good man, I just felt so shut off. So when I had this real bump in energy from someone else, it was the complete reverse. So I felt a bit messed up because I'd gone from so much suppression to almost so much freedom, and so much happiness and joy. So it was like such a high in 2019. That year was insane. And my mum was still recovering a lot in that year. Still had so many health issues at the time. That's the year that she was recovering from, again, AML, had sadly been diagnosed with encephalitis as well, which we'll delve into at some point. Had struggled with double pneumonia. We thought we were going to lose her, and had also ended up developing epilepsy as well. Had her first bout of seizures. So it was a manic year. It really was. Again, emotions all over the place, and I think that 2019 was the boiling point. That was the year I thought, no, I'm not right. I'm all over the place. I need someone to listen to me. I need to talk to someone that's completely unbiased and can just sit and listen. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to vent. So yeah, got through. I think got into 2020, and then obviously COVID happened. And then it hit me after that. Especially after that period, I was like, right, I need to seek some help. So yeah, after 2020 passed, early 2021, contacted number 2020. See, I'm getting my words mixed up again. Number 22, contacted them, was put on the waiting list for about, I think, 4 weeks, which is actually quite a quick turnaround. And yeah, got onto my sessions, and I can't remember every single session in detail, but it was very, how do I put it? Quite structured. It was very much putting the power into the individual across the table, which was me, and allowing me the space to talk. I remember the first session, and this is where I'm going to say it was powerful. The first session that I went in there, I sat down, and I met the individual, the counsellor that I was going to talk to for the next, 8, 10, 12 weeks, I can't remember. And we were chatting away, doing our introductions, our backgrounds, and within 5 minutes, I think maybe 1 or 2 questions was asked, and then I completely broke down. I just started blubbering because I don't know what it was. I hadn't cried for years, and I was sat in front of someone that had no affiliation to me, my life, my background, had no judgment of me, and they wouldn't have that judgment of me. They were there to listen and potentially provide me routes to come up with solutions myself and ways of thinking. And I just started crying. I just completely, broke down, and they allowed me the time to cry, get my words together, and just talk about what triggered me. And again, it was just talking about me feeling like a bloke that was not good enough, me feeling like someone that had to hold up, or hold the fort for so many years, manage and juggle so many things at a young age, and then also think to myself, right, I haven't lived what, in quotations again, and I shouldn't have thought like this, what a normal young lad should live. I should have experienced certain things. I wasn't able to go out partying all the time. I wasn't able to just do things I suppose, on a whim, like, because I had such a structured life, and I had to, because I had to look after the house, I had to look after my dog, I had to be there for my family, I had to be there for my mum. I didn't have much of a social life, and any bit of social life I did have would be, I suppose, in the gym at the time. And yeah, it was a difficult period, but I don't think people truly realised at the time what I was going through, because I couldn't open up. I really couldn't open up to people, and that was something that again caused me to realise and come to that realisation that I needed to go and speak to someone so I could be a better friend, a better family member, and a future better partner. Obviously, at the time I was with Abby, and this would, it would only further benefit us as a couple, because I was able to open up more. But yeah, I was just in shock. I broke down, and again, straight away felt a complete weight lifted off my shoulders. And I remember after the session coming out, and I phoned Abby straight away being like, I'm so grateful for you. I've just had a massive opening in that session. She was like, well, it's only the first one. I was like, yeah, the first one, I've just completely broke down. I don't know what triggered it massively. I think it was just the case of knowing that someone was sat there listening to me and had no affiliation to me. So it was powerful. And I don't know if anyone else has had that experience with counselling before, with certain subjects that has triggered them, but it was, I thought that I wouldn't be able to stop crying. But over the course of the period with the counselling, we'd addressed my upbringing, we'd addressed moments of feeling I suppose neglected, maybe times where I felt like I was on my own, times where I felt like I was pouring myself into other people. We realised that I had a bit of an energy imbalance. I ran quite off of other people's energies as well. So when it wasn't, when I wasn't balanced in the sense of me and someone else pouring into each other, it was it caused issues with me. I think that I still do now. I still do run off people's energy. So if I feel like I'm being suppressed because of other people, it does affect me. I feel like I have to shut down who I am, as a person. I'm quite bubbly. I'm quite out there. I do have moments where I feel like I want to be quiet, but equally, I think that what causes that is because I'm so out there with other people that when I am in my own space, I feel like I have to shut down a bit to almost recharge before Jake's unleashed to the world again. So yeah, most of the time when people see me, I'm on 100%. Even in my competition preps, in the most recent one, I would still come across to people that I wasn't struggling with my cardio, struggling with my my food, and feeling really tired, because I just would always want to come across as such a bubbly individual for people, because I run off that. I run off the energy. But yeah, it was a big breaking point for me. The first session was incredible, and it set me off on that course of self-improvement, healing that I really needed, that I didn't think I needed for so long, but I'm glad I came to that realization. And for anyone out there that's thinking of seeking out the help of individuals that are unbiased, counselors, getting therapy, definitely do it. If it's in your mind, it's obviously it's something you've been thinking about for some time. There's probably something that's popped that into your mind, so that there's definitely enough there to run off, and you'll have enough to talk about, I'm sure. Like, you don't even realize when you're sat in the chair talking to a randomer that you're going to go off on all these tangents and where you're going to end up. I ended up talking about the relationship or lack of relationship, whatever you want to call it, basically just the issues I struggled with in 2019 and 2018, and how that made me feel as a person, and how I should feel. And I thought, does this mean that I'm not the correct type of man? Do I need to act in a certain way to attract, well, not to attract, sorry, but it made me feel like I had to, because obviously at the time I wasn't with Abby, and I felt like, oh, maybe this is the way I have to be to attract someone that's going to stay with me, or maybe I'm not good enough, and maybe I need to overdo it. Maybe I need to do more. I thought like, I just wasn't as myself. I wasn't good enough as a person, which was completely incorrect, because there's always someone out there for everyone. And I've always yearned for a partner. I'm not, I can hand on heart say, I'm happy being vulnerable saying this. I've not been with many individuals at all. I am not, and I never have been, anyone that wants to sleep around, have fun, whatever you want to call it. And again, there's no issue with that. It's just never been me. And I think that as much as I had, I think, thoughts as a youngster about what marriage was and maybe why I wouldn't want to get married, I think it's because obviously, sadly, when you see parents that have been on and off for so long, you think to yourself, oh, maybe marriage isn't all, the be all and end all. But what it did make me want is a solid relationship and someone that I could call my partner and, a life partner to go on and experience life with, in a loving way. That's what I've always wanted. And I have no shame in saying that. So yeah, life is not a set path. It can go off in so many, the butterfly effect, it can go off. Your decisions dictate where you go next. So, I don't think there's any right or wrong way of living life. You do you, but I've never wanted that. But, I did think to myself at the time, I was like, right, well, maybe I'm fucked up as a bloke. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need to improve in all these aspects in life. And maybe I must be the one that does everything and foots everything and comes up with all the ideas, everything. Like it's quite draining when you think like that. And yeah, but thankfully, saving grace was me and Abby rekindled in that sense, and and ended up going down a route of dating each other, which turned out to be the best decision ever. So that was we spoke about that a lot, because I think that really did mess me up a bit. When you think to yourself, I'm not good enough, I think that there you've got enough to talk about anyway, because obviously something's caused you to think that way. And like I said, you need to try and feel empowered to say that you are good enough. There's someone out there for everyone. And yeah, there is no need to be downing yourself and saying things like that. So yeah, needed a bit more self-love, I think, but I've learned to do that now in years to follow. So yeah, I also think that we went off on tangents, and spoke about addiction with my father, mother's health complications, and me feeling alone at times where I, didn't have a stable parentage, things like that, and what that's caused for me and what that's maybe want, and also feeling like at such a young age I had to grow up very quickly, and what that's done to me. So, and whilst I think it's a good thing, that I did mature very quickly, I think that when you're growing up, there are certain things in life that you probably want to grow up slowly, experience, learn as you go. Like, I felt like I was forced to grow up extremely quickly, and that was, I couldn't push that off. I had to just accept that was how life was going to be. So yeah, we went off on so many tangents, and then it basically reaffirmed to me that I did the right thing. I was able to be open emotionally. I realised I could cry, and it wasn't a sign of weakness. I was able to talk. I was able to still be regarded as a man, and show signs of weakness and vulnerability. And it only improved my relationship with Abby, massively. I'm so in tune with my emotions. I feel for other people. No, as an example, I was speaking to someone the other day in the gym. I can't remember the conversation, sadly, but I was talking to them, and they opened up to me about something, and it actually made me well up. And I didn't know them too well, compared to my closer friends, but it made me well up. And I'm like that, I can feel, I really do feel for people that open up to me and tell me things that, perhaps they, feel empowered to do so, but I take it as, a compliment that people talk to me, and I want to keep that pattern. I like to try and be someone that can help you. I want to be, like that big brother figure to people, or like a best friend figure to people that, that people feel like they can come to and talk to about things that are bothering them, things that they just want to, talk about, vent about. And yeah, that's just me all over. And I hope this podcast does that on a grander scale. But yeah, the counselling was a journey for sure. And I am so grateful that I took that step. I sought the help of Number 22. Definitely recommend them, by the way. They've got an online form, obviously a number that you can phone up and try and get on the waiting list. I would definitely recommend doing the online form though, because you can fill out the things that you're going through, potentially seek out other alternatives, or why exactly you feel like they would be beneficial for you. I don't think you need a referral. You could just inquire with them, and then they'll contact you. I think they do have a priority list for younger individuals, so thankfully that did help with me. But yeah, there is a waiting list, but they were great. Obviously, there's private services as well that you can use, and I haven't gone down that route. Maybe I will in future. Maybe I feel like I will need to for things that I haven't delved into. But I think I've pretty much, covered a lot, and I've opened up because of it. In an emotional way. I'm a better partner, a better friend. I'm able to feel for myself. I feel empowered to say that I am good enough. I am a good person. I think I am. And I try to be a good person for other people. And I will continue doing so, and I would definitely recommend counselling as a form of, I suppose, learning, as a form of, I'm trying to think of the words, maybe just a way of, a therapy form. Counselling is a healing, it's a way of healing. It's a journey. I can't get my words out, but anyway, it works. Let's just summarise it with that. It works. It worked for me, and I really do think it would work for other people that feel emotionally shut off or feel like they need to talk to people that are unbiased, that can just listen, you can vent to, and they can provide you routes to coming up with your own, self-affirmations, and I suppose routes to coming up with solutions, really. And it really helped with me. I had a culmination of issues, culmination of, problem years, all started to fester for me, grew up too quickly, and then suddenly hit a boiling point where I realised I'm not okay. There's a massive energy imbalance in me, and then I sought the help. So I would have liked to have come to that conclusion sooner, but it is what it is. It was obviously the journey that I needed to get to that point, and there is no, like I said, there's no set path in life. We're all different. We all hit our boiling points with certain subjects and topics, at different points in life that make us think, no, I need to make a change. And trust me, I'm not perfect. There's still things I'm not doing now that I know I should be doing, or want to be doing deep down. But I haven't got to that point yet. But I'm getting better. I'm taking steps to improve my life in all aspects. I hope so anyway. But remember, you don't need to be, at rock bottom. You don't need to hit boiling points. You don't need to be at that failure point and, exhaustion, where you then start seeking the help and getting people saying, you need to go, you need to do this, you need to do that. Try and be proactive and think, right, maybe I'm not 100%, or maybe you think you are 100%, but, maybe ask yourself some questions, like, are there elements of your life where you feel, 100% secure? Do you feel like you're doing too much in life? Do you feel like there's an energy imbalance? Do you feel like other people aren't listening to you? Do you feel like you don't have people to talk to that actually hear you? Like, it's all well and good, thinking that you've got friends and family that understand you and understand what you've been going through, but can you categorically say they do? Have you had conversations with them that reaffirm that? Or have you had conversations where you feel heard, or where you've had the microphone for long enough to actually talk about those things in detail? I didn't up to that point. That's why I took that step, and I realised that. But don't hit rock bottom. Ask yourself some questions, do a bit of self-reflection and think, right, do I need to take some steps now to improve myself or feel better about myself, or get to a point where I feel comfortable reaching out to other people for help in life? Because, it's not nice being shut off, and having your friends being like, I'm there for you. And you feel like, yeah, you are, but you don't feel like you can actually open up to people, effectively. And that's not their issue. It's sadly, it's yours. We have to take self-control in life. It's hard, but sometimes we need to need to take those steps ourselves to get to a point in which we can say, right, I'm healing. I'm doing the do. I'm doing it for myself. I'm learning. I'm not perfect, but I'm taking steps to improve. And be better for myself, not for anyone else. First and foremost, it's for yourself. And as a result, you will be a better, I suppose, or a more complete individual in life for everyone else. So yeah, I just want to remember, it's not a weakness feeling like you need to talk. It's not a weakness feeling like you need to be emotional with other people. It's not a weakness at all. Seeking the help of counselling, or therapy in general, just talking to people, it is not a weakness. It's a strength. Being able to take that step, that is definitely a strength. Remember that. And 100% I would go again. I would always recommend number 22. There's so many other services out there, and I will put some more, again, like I did with the Mind and the charities and people to reach out with. I will put a list of counselling services, if I can find some decent ones that I would definitely that I think are, worth it, then I'll put some in the description box for the episode. But, definitely do some research. And obviously, first and foremost, if you need a starting point, look into number 22 if you're in and around the areas that the catchment is, or go to the NHS website, and I'm sure there are certain links and resources on there that you can go that you can go to from. But yeah, I'm definitely an improved individual today because of that journey that I had with counselling, and I would 100% recommend it for anyone else that's debating it. So don't hesitate anymore. Take this as advice to take that step. Okay. I hope this has been a really, again, an empowering episode. I hope it's been helpful. I hope it's made you, again, realise some more things about me. We're at episode 5 now, and I'm getting to the point now where I am starting to ask some individuals about doing some episodes on. I am going to need the help of other individuals as well I need you guys to tell me who you would potentially want me to reach out to. There's no one too big. Even if you want me to go and reach out to people like, I don't know, Richard Branson, you want to hear if he's got issues, I'll do it. He probably won't come on, but I will do it. I'll go and reach out to him and say, hey, when starting Virgin, did you have some real bad issues going on in the background that you needed to talk to about, or talk to someone about that you couldn't at the time? It'd probably just be like, who the hell is this? It's a bot. I'll still go and reach out. I don't care. Even if it takes 100, 200, 1,000, attempts, I'll do it. So tell me who you want to get on the podcast, who you think would be good to get on to talk about some real issues, experiences, and just to get some insights that are going to help people on a larger scale. I will do it. I really want this to be the start of something special. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in again, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments as well, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.